My name is Shirley Self, and I'm here to talk astrology. And tonight I wanted to give a little time to the Democrats and the Republicans. They have an interesting history, and this is their charts. Now, these are solar charts. It means that I put the sun on the ascendant, because that way you can read the sun's distinct purposes in life, not how you're going to approach life. That's the you need the ascendant for that. But what the sun's doing and what it's got and what it's getting out of life. That is, and it's very helpful. I know that the moon, you don't know exactly where the moon is in a solar chart, but I'm always amazed at what the moon will tell us in just a solar chart. So this is them. This is the Democrats, and they were born the 13th of May in 1792 in Philadelphia. And they, the Democratic Party was started by Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. And they were pulling a power play against Alexander Hamilton's schemes to turn our economy over to big banks, I guess. That was one of the big issues in our founding, and it shows up in our horoscope. Anyway, that Pluto that the United States has in the second house of money is at 27 degrees. And it's amazing how many late degrees show up in these charts. 27, here's Neptune. And this Neptune in the Democratic, okay, we've got a Neptune-Saturn opposition, and that means you may have a hard time living up to your ideals, because maybe your ideals are not realistic. Saturn and Neptune, it confuses the issue. We depend so much on Saturn, to keep us organized in this life, to keep us, to keep our foundation strong and our habits helpful. So you get Neptune in there, and everything goes adrift, and you can't count on anything for very long. So. And in this solar chart, you can really learn a lot by using the houses. And notice that Neptune is conjunct Jupiter in the 6th. And what Jefferson and Madison felt at this time was that that Hamilton was taking advantage of other people's ignorance and of people's vulnerability. A 6th house is your it's what you're vulnerable to. It's your health. So you look at this chart, and okay, we've got Moon Uranus, Moon Pluto. That's one of the reasons why I pay attention to the moon in just a solar chart, because it's always informative. So we've got Moon Pluto over here, opposite Uranus, and that is okay. You look at that Moon Pluto, and they're conjunct the United States moon, which is in at 27 degrees Aquarius, and so that there's a vulnerability there, and an ability to take control of. Do the Pluto thing on the moon, to control that moon, and it's opposite, it's opposite the organic growth of an economy, I guess. This is against freedom down here in the 4th house, freedom of. Okay, the United States was in a lot of expansion then, and the moneyed people were doing what moneyed people do, and Jefferson wanted to stop that. He actually was, considering he was a rich man slave owner, but he was 18. He couldn't help himself. He had he was an Aries sun, and he believed in liberty, equality, fraternity. So Jefferson's footprints are all over this. He was. I really think that he wanted to give us. He knew that the money interests would favor city dwelling, which Hamilton was very much in favor of, and but Jefferson also knew that the people who tilled the land were the foundation of the economy. So anyway, we've got a lot of a war. We've got a war going on. The nodes here are on the United States. IC Midheaven. Here's the IC, and here's our Midheaven. And so they're virtually talking about who runs the country, who owns the power in the country, and so that's the start of the Democratic Party. It was a subversive start. Notice that the Taurus rising here, and this is a fixed star. I think it might be Marcab, but it's the degree of sorrow. This is ruled by this Venus up here in the 12th house, conjunct Saturn. And what that is okay. Thomas Jefferson's sun was 23 degrees of Aries, so you could say this is Thomas Jefferson's sun right here. And so he was trying to actually, I think he was being subversive, and may not have been upfront about what he was doing, but he was organizing in opposition to Hamilton, and both of these parties started in response to something that was going on in the country, something they didn't agree with. We've got the Republicans are, okay, they were born in 20 March 1854 in Ripon, Wisconsin. And they were a reaction to the expansion of slavery into new territories. And so you see this expansion into new territories, that 8th and 9th house, ownership of territories that are not ours. Back up a bit here. Slavery very much has Neptune in it because of the terrible suffering of and virtually not getting to own your own life. And of course Saturn. Notice this Saturn is in Taurus. This corporate ownership of people. Saturn here is at 27 degrees, which is trine our own Pluto, square our own. When I say ours, I mean the United States. Square our moon in Aquarius. So the expansion of slavery, they were trying to stop the expansion of slavery, and they were attacking another 9th house issue, polygamy, and so that's the beginning of the Republican Party. It had definitely good things on his mind, and it was brought to power by Abraham Lincoln in 1860. I can't remember. Huh? Okay, I wasn't there anyway. Okay, Lincoln's midheaven was at 12 degrees of Sagittarius, which is the United States Ascendant. He had, and he was the one that brought virtually brought this into power, this party into power, and it's interesting to me how these two parties were they've switched sides somewhere in their progressions. There's something or several things that were retrograde, maybe turned direct, or that were direct turned retrograde. And that's when that kind of switch will happen, when it'll either go onto the rails after being off, or go off the rails after being on. So the Republican Party started out with good intentions. Notice the Jupiter-Chiron conjunction there. A wound. There's been a wound to the body politic, and this group wants to heal it. There's actually a sextile here. I haven't marked in for some reason. Maybe you didn't notice it. And the Mars is in Virgo in the 6th house here. And Mars in Virgo is very critical, very aggressively critical, and it is, this Mars in Virgo was the focal point of this chart, which is a bowl. Otherwise, it's a bowl. This is the handle, and it's right out there, kind of at the midpoint. So they both started out well, but you know, you give them power, and like Lincoln said, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So let's look at the progressions of these guys here. Okay, here's the midheaven, the progressed midheaven of the solar chart. The progressed midheaven is right down here on this Mars. Is that interesting? This is the Democrats, and the Democrats have come into executive power, and by writing this Mars. Say, oh, this is midheaven. Here's the ascendant. It's at 1 degree Sagittarius, and it has the Jupiter in Jupiter. The progressed Jupiter is right on the 7th house cusp, and that's pretty much what the Democrats hope to be doing, is doing a Jupiter, for raising other people. But they're going to have to own that Jupiter, and that tends to be, in this country, that Jupiter's the rich people. They're going to have to get in control of that. Absolutely get in control of that to make anything happen. Remember, this is the mask of the sun. This is what the sun has to use in order to be successful. And here's what we want the Democrats want it to be successful. They've got that Mars, the Venus, and the Pluto. Not just the action and the value system that is a humanitarian value system up there in Aquarius, but power. They've got the power. The Democratic Party is a moon phase. Let me see. I forget. Oh, okay. They're moon phase 22. Now, moon phase 22, you know, is at that square. The last square, the waning square of the sun and the moon. So this solar chart is a moon phase 22, and remember, the moon phase 22 is at the height of the power of the Mercury, of the intellect, and what the big job now is to get off your high horse. Yeats calls him the king. Is at the top of his power. The intellect is at the top of its power, and now has to get off its high horse and go back down into finding out what practical life is really, really all about, because they've lived so long in their heads. And it fits that Jefferson, who was an egghead of glorious sort, and Madison would have started this party here. It was taken over virtually, you know, by the the party was jumped upon by and taken over ultimately by the slavery South, and and that was definitely a reversal somewhere. So moon phase 22's got to get off its high horse, become practical, and be of help. And be of help when you go from a 22 to 23. 23 just doesn't gently, it goes to the bottom and works things there. We're talking Mother Teresa. She didn't aid and abet and service the rich people. She went to the poorest of the poor, and that was the poor dying. And that's virtually what you have to do, is virtually the 22 has got to get off its high horse and go to the very bottom. It's a Capricorn thing. The foundations, go down to the foundations and start your mission there. Remember, 22 is the beginning of the last quarter, spiritual, the fire quarter. So get off your high horse and do for. And occasionally the Democrats do that. The Republicans are a 20. Now, they're over there in the middle, well, 18, 19, and the United States is in 18, remember. 18, 19 are right there in the middle of the year quarter. And 20 is the result of all that work done by the initiations of 18 and 19. That focus to power of an 18, that gathering of power of a 19, and the utilization of power of a 20. So that is what this chart is about, and it's at a sextile. This sun is at a sextile to our Pluto, where the power is. The United States Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn. So we've got a lot of attention to that Pluto. This is a buildup of power, and virtually wanting to stop slavery, wanting to tell other people how their religion should function. So it was this handle here, this very critical handle at 1 degree Virgo. So the thing about this is the powerful part of this very powerful chart. Notice that's held in less than an opposition here. It's a bowl here with a handle. It's actually called a bucket, but it's very powerful because it's the sun and the moon. It has to do with virtual basis of life, and that Virgo, Mars in Virgo, that is a very actively critical. Let's fix this right now, Mars. And so the issue with 20 is, yeah, you're absolutely, they're virtually turned loose. And the point is, well, they're to push the boundaries of, the world gets law, governments, etc. When they start to get old, they get restrictive because our consciousness grows, we change. And these old constrictions have to be broken down. And it is a moon phase 20 that will break those down. They will go to war against those kinds of restrictions. So because they're pushing the boundaries, the whole point is often they will just go right through the promised land, off into hell, and so these people tend to be have to be careful that they don't exceed morality, exceed ethics, break the law. They're this is a very pushy a moon phase, and it needs to resort to pushing when this moon phase starts pushing people around individually. That's where they really do damage. They're supposed to push the world around out there in the bigger realm. When they start going after people one-to-one, or going after groups of people like this, they're already going after religious people who had a different religion, and that's, I think, when they go too far. Notice it's a square, and I'm not saying that I approve of polygamy. I just think it's none of my business, because I'm not particularly pulled toward it. So when we talk about the progressions of these two charts, you know, we've got they both started out with, I think this was probably the most suspect reasons for to clandestinely go after Hamilton, but this is the Democratic Party, and this is the ascendant. The Democratic Party is a Virgo ascendant, and has Jupiter right here. It is the Midheaven is conjunct this Mars, so you can see how it's coming into power. How we'll see how they use their power. That's the big issue with both of these charts, is their power issues, and they're these are people to make change, to keep the world from getting too rigid, and the moon phase 20 is actually called the Judge. And these are to actually go out and to be and to help people right at the very bottom. And if you'll notice that occasionally the Democratic Party does that, and hopefully they're going to pick it up again, because it looks like this whole thing about the Virgo on the Midheaven. I find it that's what they're supposed to be doing. This party is supposed to be aiming to do the Virgo thing in this country, is to not just to clean up government, but to make it functional. That's what Virgo is all about. How well do you digest your food? How are you feeding this thing the proper nourishment? That's Virgo. That's Virgo. And the Earth, remember, has got a Virgo issue right now. Is the Earth is sick, and at least as far as we're concerned, I think probably the things that are living on this Earth might be having a tough time, and that's supposed to be an issue. It's supposed to be an issue with everybody. Notice that the ascendant of the Republicans has come around to this. The ascendant, the Sun, and Mercury here on this Virgo in the 6th house of this solar chart. The 6th house of this is sick, let's fix it. Oddly, they got distracted and didn't fix it. Let's look at that. Okay, the ascendant or the MC is here on the cusp of the third house. That's a weak position for the midheaven. Third house is cadent, called cadent, and is far removed, you might say, from the action. Here's the action. The action happens here, and here, and here, and here. But these cadent houses, actually, the United States has got a really active cadent houses because the pandemic is moving through it. The Saturn, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, and God only knows what else, moving through our sixth house of illness, of suffering, and because Pluto's there, death. So let's see, what else did I want to tell you about? See, the thing about this chart is that the thing that a moon phase 20's really got to watch out for is trying to get power over others. What their power is supposed to be focused upon is functions, the larger functions. These how things are working in the United States or in government. They are very much political. They're in the third quarter, and the third quarter is the political quarter. So but they do tend to go too far, and they're going too far in the grab for power. Remember, so much of this is about Pluto, the power in the United States, which is at 27 degrees Capricorn. So, and both of them are about power to do something. And let's hope they get their act together and actually do something. Maybe do some of this Virgo, that is, instead of attacking the way you and I or groups are doing things, to see how the government's running, to do virtually what needs to be done by government right now, which is a hell of a lot of healing of government. So I think that's about, one of these days I'm going to get off this political kick, and I will do that as soon as politics quits being so interesting. I pray that you're well, wear your mask, wash your hands, and tell the people you love that you love them. Bye-bye.